Today we're going to talk about writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. We'll start by writing an equation of a parallel line. We'll determine parallel or perpendicular lines. We'll determine whether lines are perpendicular. And lastly, we'll write an equation of a perpendicular line. Some vocabulary words you're going to see are converse, perpendicular lines, and conditional statement. We'll start with looking at parallel lines in your note sheet here. And you've seen this thing about parallel lines before. With if lines are parallel, they have the same slope. Okay, and this is a conditional statement. If two non-vertical lines in the same plane have the same slope, then they are parallel. Okay, you should fill those highlighted portions in on your note sheet. Okay, the converse of this conditional statement, okay, is if two non-vertical lines in the same plane are parallel, then they have the same slope. Okay, so we can say that either way. Okay, your definition for converse you see up there, it interchanges the hypothesis and conclusion of a conditional statement. Okay. Now that if you do that, it's not always necessarily true, but for the one for parallel lines, it is true. We can say that either way and it's true. Okay, now moving on to our first example here. Okay, we're going to write the equation of a parallel line. Okay, so if you remember what we've talked about so far, we have been using y equals mx plus b as our slope-intercept form equation. Okay, so if I'm going to write a line that's parallel to y equals 3x minus 1, okay, what I know about parallel lines is that they have the same slope. So the first step that they did here was they identified the slope. Okay, and if you look at y equals 3x minus 1, okay, your slope, or your m, is 3. Okay, so that's the first thing they identified. Okay, the next thing you need to do is find the y-intercept. Okay, so again, back to y equals mx plus b. You put the 3 in for m, and then remember the point -3, -5, you have an x, you have a y. Okay, they substituted those into the equation, -5 for y, -3 for x. 3 times -3 is -9. So they had -5 equals -9 plus b. And what they did was added the 9. -5 plus 9 gives you the 4, and that's your b. That's a lot of the same thing we've done already. So now they know your m is 3, and you know your b is 4. You substitute those in to your equation, and you end up with y equals 3x plus 4. Okay, so let's look at the example that's on your note sheet. Okay, we're going to write an equation of a line that passes through the point 2, 4 and is parallel to the line y equals 4x. Okay, just like we've done with everything else, the first thing we need to do is identify the slope. Okay, so again, remember y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so if we look at that equation, our m is 4, so this has a slope of 4. So a line that's parallel to 4x plus 1, but instead goes through the point 2, 4, will also have a slope of 4. So the next thing we need to do here is find the y-intercept. So we'll use the slope at the given point that we have. Okay, we've already said our slope is 4. And if we look back at our point here, remember x is 2 and y is 4. So we're going to plug that stuff into our equation. So our y is going to be 4. Our m is also 4. Our x is 2. And then again, we don't know b. Okay, so we substituted 4 for m. We substituted 2 for x. And we substituted 4 for y. So we need to solve for b. So what we have here, 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 4 equals 8 plus b. So to solve for b, you subtract the 8 from both sides. 4 minus 8 is negative 4. So now we know that negative 4 equals b. Last step here, step 3, is to just write the equation in mx plus b form. Okay, so we know that our m is 4, so we're going to put 4 in for m. And we just found out that negative 4 was b. So we go ahead and write our equation in mx plus b form. So it's going to be y equals, my m is 4, x, and my b is negative 4, so I'm just going to write minus 4. And we have written our equation. Okay, the next thing you can do here is go ahead and try checkpoint number 1 on your own. If you have questions, please raise your hand and ask us.